Okay, all right. So today we're gonna have a discussion and sharing about instrument development. So based on my experience, all right, since 2001 in UTM, so involve a few instrument development. Okay, I learned also a lot from my supervisor, our dean, which is Prozeratun, while I'm doing my PhD, all right, my PhD journey in 2008, all right. So today, basically, the idea which is how we can come up a good instrument. But I back again on the basic of how we can develop the instrument. Okay, right. But if anyone have any question while I'm present about the instrument, you just can voice here and you can stop me a while. Uh, don't wait until the end of the program. Okay, so if you have any question, just voice unmute your computer and ask me anything you want to share or something you want to ask, just tell me. Okay, so first part is about the instrument development. Okay, for the research instrument, it's a tool used to collect, measure, and analyze data related to your research interest, which a researcher attempt to measure variables or items of interest in the data collection process. So, the research instrument is usually determined by researcher and is tied to the study methodology. So what's your method? So refer to that one, refer to your research question. So we develop the instrument. It is related not only to instrument design, selection, construction and assessment, but also the condition under which designated instruments are administered. So how we can administer our instrument, okay? So therefore, the selection of instruments that will be used to collect data is a crucial step in the research process. So a research instrument can include interview, test, survey, or checklist. As you know, this is the basic of the research instrument. But how each of these one can be rearranged accordingly to our research question. However, during the process of data collection, researcher might fail to recognize that changes in the calibration of measuring instrument can lead to the biased results. So we have to bear in our mind if you have any changes or any you want to amend from your instrument, you have to back again from the data validity and etc. Okay, so basically idea instrument refer to the tools or means by which investigators attempt to measure variables or item of interest in data collection process. So this instrument that you want to use. Actually based on the my experience, all right, from the other university, sometimes they come to us, come to UTM or email to me. Instrument is very, very important. So how you make sure that your instrument okay, so sometimes you can go to the expert people, right? So the expert people sometimes get some advice and correct certain item or give a good comment how you can make it your instrument better or to improvise. Okay, all right. So what can we see here? What makes a good research instrument? So can you think about how we can make it good instruments? Because most of the students are afraid how we can adopt or adapt from other research instruments. But actually, we can come up with our own instrument, like my research in what I'm doing my PhD in 2008. All right, so I come up with a rubric with the question, all right, about the computer network, all right. So this is the instrument that can help us to answer our research question. So a good research instrument is one that has been validated, and has proven reliability. So this is a very, very important part. It should be one that can be collect data in a way that's appropriate to the research question being asked. So therefore, if student ask me to validate their instrument, I will validate one by one, step by step, words by words, okay, item by item. Most of the time, previously we have the student, even though from the dean, okay, student and the project also come to me, or my friends also. So I have to check one by one because is it the instrument answer the research question, all right? But sometimes I need 1 week or 2 weeks to validate because we have queue certain project and also other job. But based on the conceptual framework, back again on the conceptual framework, or the researchers understand of how the particular variables in the study connect with each other. Sometimes it's hard to us to make it this hypothesis to another hypothesis, right? Must gather data suitable for and relevant to the research topic. Able to test hypothesis and or answer proposed research question under your investigation, right? Under your research. So it should not have any bias in the way that data is collected, and it should be clear as to how the research instrument should be used appropriately. All right. So for those have a problem, we as a part of the education technology lecturer always love to help students if you need validate your instrument. Okay. Developing an instrument takes a lot of work and advanced preparation, right? Advanced preparation. It is a very important that the instrument has been thoroughly critiqued, evaluated, and pilot tested by the student or by supervisor or teachers or others person before it is administered for the actual study. Once the instrument has been administered, it cannot be changed. All right, remember for that one. So any problems with the instrument after it has been administered, we require the student to completely redo the data collection process. Okay, so sometimes wasting considerable time and money when we redo it again, right? So therefore, researchers must take great thought and care in developing their instrument. Don't rush when you make item by item, but you have to look at is it answer your question uh, or your research question or your framework or your teaching theory, right? Sorry, learning theory. So when designing an instrument, so we have to keep in mind the following item, which is the conclusion drawn in a research study are only as good as the data that is collected. So that one is must make sure that one. So number two, the data that is collected is only as good as the instrument that collects the data. All right. The words is left and right. Okay. So a poorly design instrument will lead to the bad data. So which lead to bad conclusion. So we hope that you guys must appropriately develop the instrument accordingly to your research question. So therefore, developing a good instrument is the most important part of conducting a high quality research study. Okay, so now we look at the importance of instruments development. Why is important? So in order to develop an instrument, common concept and valid construct are required with the supplementation of strong theories. So back again to your research framework and also your research learning theory, right? So according to the previous research, has inferred that a problem in social sciences arises when there is the lack of strong theories, but social scientists still proceed with their effort on developing instruments. So we, as a social scientist, right, which is reflected in the depth of well accepted instruments, right? So we conduct with the humans. So how we can make appropriate instrument. Uh, Based on the if not mistaken by Bosted, right, 2010 has developed point out that good theory and good measurement are often prerequisite for standardized measurement, right? So it back again to our instrument. So a concept is usually based on the theory. Developing an instrument requires a solid theory, right? That is widely accepted in the scientific community. So the person that we use in our the user that will involve in our research. So therefore, the ability to develop a measurement is dependent on the state of the theory. So from there, we know what the instrument that we develop. Okay, so more or less, I'm not go for the 7. I just go less than that. Okay, there's a 7 top. All right. Okay. First, as usual, we know we have the instrument of interview, right? So we conduct the interview. So the first one interview is face-to-face conversation. So between two individuals with the sole purpose of collecting relevant information to testify a research purpose, all right? So interview are of different types, namely sometimes we call it as structured or semi-structured or unstructured, with each having a slight variation from each other. But basically it's an interview. So we have to select which one we want to focus or appropriate with our user or our respondent. So more about the interview. We have three type of interview. Sometimes we don't bother about structured interview, semi-structured, unstructured interview. But for me, I really concerned about the interview. Okay, it's because if you look at back on the structured interview, simply put, it is a verbally administered questionnaire, right? So structured easy, right? In terms of that, it is surface level, right? If you are using the structured interview, actually it is a surface level and it's usually completed with a short period. Okay, we just give this is question. So maybe about 50 minutes or 20 minutes we can complete that one based on the research question. So for speed and efficiency, it is highly recommendable, but it lacks on the depth. So how you can make it more details on the content of your interview. But we have the second one. So we have the second one, which is the semi-structured interview. Why we have the structured interview? Why we need this semi-structured interview? So most of my students always use semi-structured or unstructured based on the user, right? Okay. So in this method, okay, the semi-structured interview, in this method, there subsists several key questions which cover the scope of the area to be explored, okay, compared to structured interview. It allows a little more leeway for the researcher to explore the subject matter. So we have the main, so we have the structured side. Compared to unstructured interview, right? I do the unstructured interviews for my research, all right, because it's involved the kindergarten student, right? Okay, so it is an adept interview that allows the researcher to collect uh, uh, okay, more details, okay, a wide range of information with a purpose. So what purpose? So an advantage of this method is a freedom. It gives a research to combine structure with flexibility, even though it is more time consuming, because where you go for unstructured interview, there are so many that additional things you want to look at, right? Okay. So this is the example, a structured interview. If you look at here, more or less when I do the research with my students. So we have preparation of your structured interview. Okay, this is the example. So a structured interview is a type of quantitative interview that makes use of a standardized sequence of questions in order to gather relevant information. So about a research subject or research that you refer to. So it eliminates redundancy, overlap, and potentially illegal question because we just follow step by step. So this type of research is mostly used in the statistical investigation, okay, and follows a premeditated sequence. So after this question, we follow the second one. So they're very structured. So in a structured interview, the researcher creates a set of interview questions systematically. After A question, we have the B question in advance, okay? And these questions are asked in the same order to that responses can easily be replaced in the similar category. So the first question, uh, respondent A, B, C. So answer this team, and so we easy to categorize because we have the same question for everybody and the following the numbering and the structure. So the structure interview is also known as a pattern interview, plan interview, or standardized interview. So it saves the interview time. So we just follow one by one. Okay. So then we look at the semi-structured interviews. Most of the students in the PhD level advised to do the semi-structured interview, but you can also do structured interview. Why? Okay, a semi-structured interview is a type of qualitative interview that has a set of premeditated question yet. So allow the interviewer to explore new developments in the course of the interview. Okay, in some way, it represents the midpoint between structured and unstructured interviews. Okay, so the semi-structured is in the middle, right? So in a semi-structured interview, the interviewer is at the liberty to deviate from the set interview question and the sequence as long as he or she remains with the overall scope of the interview. So in addition, a semi-structured interview makes use of the interview guide, which is informal grouping of topics and questions that the interviewer can ask in the different ways. If you look at the example here, right? So we have the question. If you're using the structure, we have the A, B, C, D. So tell us about your organization role in the disaster mental health example. So tell us about the training, the response team, receipt, and DMH. But if you have the props, okay, follow up the props. So we have the semi-structure, we have the props, okay. So we can go more detail. How many people are involved? So we know if your organization is big, so we know based on the people as a staff. And we can go more details. So therefore, we need the semi-structure. So how do people join the response team, right? So you know the details. So because if you just tell us about organization as a role, so sometimes you cannot catch the important things. Or if you have the props, okay, so you can have more details. Sometimes you can pick up the important things. For example, you can ask, okay, tell us about training response team. So instead of you have that one, you have the props, or you have a question to add more details on the first or the main concern, right? So for example, what are the training priorities for your group? Okay, what are some barriers or challenges within your organization to further training? All right. So this was very important. So as a master or PhD student, I hope that beside you have the question, the main question, you can create the props. So most of the students that come to me when they want me to check their instruments, I always look at the follow-up props. Okay, because from the follow-up props, it helps you get a good content, details, more depth about the things you want to ask. Okay, alright. So most of the time, student will come to me, why Dr. Zan so many things? So after they do the interview, so actually the follow-up forms help a lot, okay, in their research. Okay. Uh, the third one, we have the unstructured interviews, right? The unstructured interviews. So, an unstructured interview is a type of interview that is a non-directive in the nature. So here, the interviewer does not rely on a set of standardized questions, but adopt spontaneity when gathering relevant information from the respondent. Actually, in line with the purpose of the interview. So, in some way, an unstructured interview is similar to an everyday conversation. It's like just spontaneous, right? Because of its informal and free-flowing nature, all right? So unstructured interviews can be used in a variety of fields, especially sociology, and it is also adopted for market research and recruitment process. And previously, I'm using the unstructured interview for kindergarten student. So actually, you get more details that as an unexpected answer from them because we are using the unstructured interview. So actually, when we have the unstructured interview, actually that particular respondent guide us actually bring us to something that we don't know actually happened, right? Okay. So unstructured interview adopt a feedback mechanism to direct the course of the conversation in line with the research. So the researcher develops a new question based on the responses provided by the interviewee. So hence he or she can gather more in-depth and reliable information about the research subject. So it's very interesting if you do the unstructured interview, but based again on your research question. If you look at on the right side here, on the green, okay, on the green part, uh, for example, the factor evaluated by the interview are implicit and vary across candidates. Okay, questions are not necessarily job related. Sometimes when you ask about like a kindergarten student, right, adult, 60-old woman using the technology, right? So sometimes not really related to certain item, but the things that you unstructured, unexpected, you can come up from the idea, right? Okay, so there is no system, actually no guide for evaluating interview result, right? So when you do the section, but you know which actually focus that you want to do. For example, down there, okay, unstructured for ethnography, okay, for example, let the interview map out the topic. For example, tell me about what teachers do. And then we add on the prop, okay, to check their own understanding. You say that sneaking out, blah, 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 blah. What do you mean by that one? Okay, so actually when we go for the answer, actually based on the answer, we get another question. Based on the answer, we get the other question. Actually, then that one will be help a lot in our research. So actually interesting also to do the unstructured interview. Okay. Uh, Actually, the unstructured interviews there's a three major types. Okay, there are three major types of unstructured interview. These are first we have the oral history, creative interview, postmodern interview, right? So I would like to share about you one by one about this interview, the three major type of unstructured, because sometimes most of the time we use the semi-structured. Okay, so I would like to share the semi-structured. So the oral history, for example, you want to ask about kota tinggi or bandar bersejarah, okay, alright. So we had the oral history, alright, interview. So this is a type of unstructured interview that gathers historical information about a research subject by interviewing individuals who have knowledge of the experience of the research subject. Okay, let's say by about Kota Tinggi or bandar bersejarah Melaka, alright? So it aims at gathering different perspective. We don't know that one, okay? So of the experience in order to arrive at objective findings. So actually from their oral history, they guide us to another things, right? So methods of recording information in oral history include you can use the audio tapes as usual, video tapes, and the transcription of the structured interviews, right? So this is a method that you can use. So in oral history is a unique method of gathering information, though and multiple perspective you can look at, and understanding the research subject from the point of view of other individual is unexpected also. Okay, right. So I involved in, actually I'm not the main researcher. I just involved with the one of the kampung couple, I cannot remember, at the Batu Pahat. So we do the oral history, okay, unstructured interview. So interesting with the old people, right, 70 plus years old, okay. So we use the unstructured interview. So it look like santai, leisure, right? So the people that 70 years old, 80 years old will be it's an informal style, right? Okay, second, we had a creative interview. So the creative interview is a type of unstructured interview that is flexible in nature and does not abide by the traditional rules and sequence of conducting an interview. So like for example, I'm saying that about the kindergarten, right? So this is the thing that you must use the creative interview. Okay, sometimes we use flip chart. Okay, we use another additional learning materials or toys, right? While do the interview, right? So we call it as a creative interview, right? So the third one, we has a postmodern interview. I think everybody more know about that one. Okay, a postmodern interview is a collaborative approach to conducting an unstructured interview. In a postmodern interview, the roles are flexible, and this gives the researcher the opportunity to gather more diverse information from different angles. Okay, so we have part A, angles B, we have the paradigm C, all right? So during the postmodern interview, the researcher and the interview switch position, all right? So they guide us to here, to there. So at interval in a bit to gather diverse information, right? Sometimes we guide them, sometimes they guide us what actually the content they want to share with us. So also this method combines pre-mediated question with the spontaneous inquiries in order to create deeper understanding of the research subject. So actually the structure interview very interesting. If you can do that one, actually you can get more details, alright? Okay. Then here I would like to share example on such interview development. So maybe we can start with open question. Can you tell me about, so you describe. Then you continue with open prompt. You mentioned about ABC. Tell me about the ABC and towards the CDE, right? So more detail, you go one by one. So then again, open prompt. You mention this one. Describe a specific example of this one. So you can get more details of the things that you want to look at. All right. Okay. Then we have the instrument number 2. I think I'm sure that everybody know about the questionnaires. Actually, there's so many type of questionnaire. Most of the time you say the Likert scale, right? So this is the process of collecting data through an instrument consisting of a series of questions. The prompt to receive a response from individual is administered to, right? Okay. So the questionnaire are designed to collect data from a group. So for clarity, right? For clarity, it is important to note that questionnaire isn't a survey. Rather, it's form a part of it, right? So a survey actually is a process of data gathering involving a variety of data collection methods, including questionnaire. So on a questionnaire, there are a few kinds, okay, of question used. So as usual, we have the construct, we have the item. Example, we have the questionnaire for example, fixed alternative, scale, open-ended, as usual we have. So with each of the question tailored to the nature and the scope of our research. All right. So actually a good questionnaire you can have construct. Sometimes in a one construct you can get two item. Sorry, you can look at the two angle. All right. So actually, when you come up with the questionnaire, you must creative. Okay, how you can put the item. Right. Okay. So okay, more or less about the questionnaire, I would like to share here. Questionnaires, as usual, instrument can be administered in a large number and is a cost effective. Now you can use the Google form or you can just email to your respondents, so easy, right? So it can be used to compare and contrast with the research to measure change. So what your finding and what is actually happened in the previously, right? So questionnaires easy to visualize and analyze, and questionnaire also offer actionable data. Right, so it's clear because it is apa tu is clear one by one. Right, so questionnaire can cover all areas of topic and relatively inexpensive. Right, so easy to use the questionnaire, but the content of the questionnaire itself. All right. Okay, so now I would like share about types of question in the questionnaire. All right, type of question in the questionnaire. So actually you can use multiple question types in a questionnaire. Right, multiple question. So using various question type can help actually increase responses to your research questionnaires, as they tend to keep participants more engaged. So, but not too much, all right? Sometimes I answer the questionnaire is about half an hour. You must rearrange carefully, okay? So, some of the widely used type of questionnaires, such as we have the first one, we have the open-ended question. So actually the open-ended question help to collect qualitative data in the questionnaire where the respondent can answer in a free form with little to no restriction. So this is open-ended question. So they just answer, they can comment and etc. Second, okay. So second we had the dichotomous question. Right, this is another type of question. So the dichotomous question is generally a yes, no, or close-ended question. Right. So this question is usually used in the case of need or for necessary validation something. Right. So it is most natural form of a questionnaire. If you look at on the right side, even though I'm saying that actually there is a yes, no, but to have a proper or better or clear answer to answer your research question, instead you have, do you know about polio? Yes or no? But we don't know, is it they know where or which level they are their knowledge. So better, instead of you had determine yes, no, you can change it. Okay, how well you know about polio, right? So not very well, average, and very well. So this is the thing. Sometimes I correct the student instrument to better way to put the statement, right? Is it yes, no, or three, or four selection? So this is the thing that sometimes you need the expert to validate your instrument. Okay, all right. So back again to the open-ended question. There's a here example. So when you put the open-ended question, please put the words that can provoke them, that can push them to answer more details. For example, tell me about, what do you mean by, okay, what does that mean to you, what additional items, okay. So this is a thing that uh not say that please give me five, please give me four, no. Okay, so the words that you, what some other reason that we can use to construct student visual thinking, right? So these are the words that you can use when you do or you use the open-ended question. So the development of the questionnaire based on the open-ended question and or based on the dichotomous question, really important. Okay, we have the number three, right? This is under questionnaire also, right? Actually, questionnaire so many style, right? Okay, so we have the number three, the multiple choice question. So we have the questionnaire which is based on the MCQ, right? So the MCQ are a close-ended question type in which a respondent has to select maybe single select MCQ, or they have can answer many because we have multi-select multiple choice question, right? MCQ. Sometimes your favorite color, maybe you have more than one. Okay. So responses from a given list of option that you give to them. Okay. So the MCQ questions consist of incomplete questions sometimes. Okay. Right or wrong answer, or incorrect answer, or close alternative, or distracted. Sometimes we put like a negative statement because you want to refer back the positive statement on the top. So this is the creativity you put the MCQ question. Okay. So of course, not all multiple choice question have all the answer types. Okay. So for example, you probably won't have the wrong or right answer if you're looking for customer opinion. So maybe you can put as another measurement instead of you have the yes or no, right or wrong. Okay, so this is multiple choice question. Even the just look at the MCQ, actually the creativity when you come up with the answer also is very important. The number four, we have scaling questions. So these questions are based on the principle of four measurement scales. Okay, as you know, we have the nominal, we have the ordinal, we have the interval, we have the ratio. So a few of the question types that utilize these scales fundamental properties are rank, okay, rank order question, or Likert scale question, or semantic difference scale question, right? So we have the scaling question, right? After that, I show to you the example. So we have another one. I love to use this one, okay? Pictorial questions, right? This question type is easy to use and encourage respondent to answer. Okay, it was similar to the MCQ like the number three, but respondents are asked to answer, and the answer choices are in the images or in the icons, right? So this help respondent choose and answer quickly without overthinking. Number one, number two, number three, number four, number five. Okay, so you use the images. So without overthinking the answer, giving you more accurate data, what actually their answer actually refer to. Okay, right. This is what I mentioned before, right? So as usual, we use the multiple choice question. Like this question, which of the following is not a basic element of project management? Okay, setting goal, identifying. Okay, this is number one. Okay, so we use the multiple choice question. Okay, number two, just now I say that I love to use scaling. Instead of you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can have the bar. All right, you have the bar. Okay, please allocate 100 points on how you spend your income. Okay, so essentials, entertainment, utilities, and others. So most of the time, which one they will allocate their income, right? So this one also easy for them to illustrate what actually they are referred to. And number three, I love this one, pictorial questions. Okay, because we are multimedia methodology, we love to use this one. Okay, how do you rate our service? So, excellent, good, average, poor, very poor. So for those maybe your user actually maybe 50 years old and above, or kids below 8 years old, so pictorial question is very good. Actually, even though they are my age, all right, 40 plus, okay, actually pictorial question actually easy for me to answer, right? Okay, so therefore I love to change. Instead of I'm using Likert scale normal, I'm using this pictorial question. So use your creativity when you come up with your questionnaire. So develop appropriately. Okay, all right. So overall rules of how to design a question. I'm taking from one website, which is it involves it involves identify what you want to cover in survey. Okay, number two, uh, don't miss your word. Okay, number three, ask only one question at a time. Don't double barrel. Okay, be careful on that one. Be flexible with your option. Okay, therefore the option which is sometimes uses the picture. Okay, all right, the bar, right. So number five, open or close-ended question is tough choice. So be careful how many questions you want to put, right? So is it important to know your audience? If important, then you have to put a number. Of no, I just actually we don't have to put the number. Let's say 003 no Azean, 005 Hadif Akmal, right? Is it important or actually it can be anyone can answer that one without you know actually who will answer that one. Okay. So the last part is choosing the right tools actually very very important. So nowadays we are using handphone. So if you're using Google Form, something that can view landscape, portrait, so this is very important. Okay. I think about content analysis, the third instrument, okay. The instrument number three, if she refer to content analysis. Content analysis important, this instrument very important. So as a researcher technique, content analysis has been used in a variety of ways and within a number of contexts. Okay, so it has been successfully used to analyze text and solve issue of disputed authorship of academic papers. Okay, the technique used have included an examination of prior writings and frequently count of nouns or commonly occurring words to help determine the probability of the authorship, right? That is example. Okay, the example maybe we want to look at the academic paper. Okay, so content analysis can be used as a powerful research tool to determine from the content of message, sounds, inference concerning the attitude of the speaker or writer, so how they feel and etc. So it has been usefully employed as a descriptor of diverse research technique. Use this systematically collecting data. All right. So this content analysis. All right. Sometimes we have the data law and etc. Okay. So more or less, the content analysis, here the flow chart. So while the tools used for analysis may have changed and developed, the essential principle of content analysis have remained constant, right? So be careful on the first part when you identify which part, okay? So to conduct content analysis, the data, the text of an interview, speech or focus group are coded okay, or group into the categories, right? So then this category of coded will include words or themes, okay, words of sensor, phrases, or the whole statement. So how you put that one. And the last one, once coded, okay, once coded, the textual data are interpreted and the result of the analysis provided must be analyze carefully. Okay, so this process is shown at the bottom part. Analyze content of data and provide results. So be careful when you transcribe, when you do the where you include the themes and etc. So that one must be careful. Okay, then we have the observation. So with observation, some people say that, oh, easy to do observation because we are conduct with the human, right? Okay. So merely asking about actually observation, actually asking about or reporting the activity people carry out. Uh, okay, carry out in different social setting or situation, which it will no doubt give you a flavor of what is involved. Okay. But in order to understand fully what this activity mean to people, so how they themselves perceive them and what their perspective in on them, it is necessary to see those people in action. All right. Instead you have the questionnaire or you have the pre-post test and etc. So how to explain what it is they do, right? So we do we use this instrument of observation. Okay, so this is the research method called observation, which is we observe them. And one of the clearest basic definition we have found of observation as a research method tell us research categorize, right? This research characteristic, right? So by prolong this period, so we can see how they interact these people with the around them, the situation around them. So observation involve the active acquisition of information for a primary sources. So observation can also involve the perception and recording of data via the use of scientific instrument that we use. Okay, so the nature of the observation could be accomplished such as we can have the as a complete observer, we just observe them, or we make an instrument but an observer as a participant. You observer tapi but you as a participant. Or number three, you make the instrument in the situation a participant as an observer. Okay, so this is a different angle that you can use when you come up when you develop the instrument. And the number four, as a complete participant. So how you as a participant, how you ask other people to look at the to help you in to complete the observation form and or checklist. Okay, so why choose observation? Okay. So social researchers are interested in the people, and we are interested in the people, and in particular the ways in which people act, interpret, understand the compact world around them. So how people see and understand their surrounding, we no doubt play a part in the ways in which they behave, they act, interact with others, and in a way their action and perceived by others. Okay, so observation is extremely handy tool for researcher in this regard. So it can allow researcher to understand much more about what goes on or in a complex or real world situation. Then they can ever discover simply by asking question, right? If you just asking, sometimes not really touch until the maximum, the optimum. But the observation, we can see them, okay, by looking what say about them, they interact, okay. So this may be because interviewee and questionnaire respondent are sometimes reluctant to impart everything they know. All right, sometimes not full give to us. Okay, so perhaps feeling it would be improper or insensitive to do so. So they want to share. They don't want to share with us. So because they consider something not significant, not irrelevant, so they didn't answer as a maximum. But in observation, we can see all these things clearly how they can interact. So when we use the observation, okay, so we can have the checklist, okay, state criteria. Okay, when I do my PhD previously in 2008, I developed my own checklist. All right, how these students learn computer networking, how they combine the hubs, how they do the cabling, right? How they make something new infrastructure network. Okay, so I'm using the checklist. So the second, this direct observation. So this is an observational study method of collecting evaluation information. So it's look like simple, but it's a very good direct observation. Okay, all right. Here I would like to show with you example of the I taking from actually more or less that I'm using previously. Okay, right? So observation instrument. For example, they have a physical setting classroom. Okay, so they have the checklist, the classroom environment, the 21st century tools. So you can observe directly how they interact. So maybe you can have the more details on the observation instrument. So this is one of the example. The second example, if you look at here, all right, so they have the criteria, but at the same time, actually they have the level, right? So is it low or between low to moderate, or moderate or between moderate to high level. So the things at the middle to is very important. This is another example. Okay, I love to use this like observation form. It's not just tick tick tick, but they have still have the apa tu, they have the rank. Okay, they have the measurement accordingly actually what they are in the level. So the last part actually the another example of the observation form, which is like a Rubik. Okay, I love to create with Rubik. My research also involved with the creating the Rubik. Okay, so my PhD also involved in create new Rubik. So this is observation, the observation based on the Rubik that you develop one by one. Okay, the last one is actually focus group. This is a focus group. Why we need the focus group? For me, very, very important to have the instruments of focus group. Okay. The opposite of quantitative research which involve numerical based data. So in the focus group, the data collection method focus more on the qualitative, right? So the focus group actually more on the qualitative. So it falls under the public category of database on the feelings and opinion of the respondent. Okay, so good to have the focus group. Okay, so this research involves asking open-ended question, maybe to a group of individuals usually ranging 6 to 10 people, students. So they will give the feedback, provide the feedback. So this is very important. So next, actually why we need the focus group. Okay, so focus group research is a form of qualitative use gather rich data. All right, it's very good. This data actually we can get also from the small group format from the participants who have agreed to focus on the certain mutual interest, etc. Okay, all right. So the emphasis is on understanding participant experience, interest, attitude, perspective, assumption. So this focus group can help us most of the time in a pilot study. So we really, really need the focus group. So our favorite definition of the focus group most of the time for the interview. So one which capture all the essential characteristics what we that actually we did. Okay, so information obtained is usually very detailed when we go for the focus group, cost effective, and it reflects speed and efficiency in the supply of the result because they just 6 to 10 people for the group. Okay, so using focus group, maybe we can use as a valid questionnaire and etc. Right? So this is the thing where we have the focus group. It help it a lot. Okay. Complete for the instruments development. Okay. All right. So we have to develop one by one. So if you have question on the or you need something there is a question here, right? Okay. If you need something, uh, comments, all right? It should be no problem. We from the education technology lecturer always uh, love to help you in validate instrument and etc. Okay. I'm also in the team of validate. Okay. From the UTM, UTHM, USM. Sometimes we also involve validate their PhD student. Very question there. Okay, but before that, last part actually how to promote your research work. After this, I answer the question in the chat. Okay. All right. So overview, just overall, actually so many things I want to share for the to promote your research works, but I think I want to make it as simple. Actually, I get the experience since 2008 when I do my PhD, right? Long time ago. Okay, so 8 years ago. Based on that one, how I can promote my research. So most of the time I love join the exhibition and competition. So my first experience with my supervisor during my when I do my I do my PhD. So not the university level, but I follow my supervisor go to the national level, all right, at the PWTC. And luckily, we managed to get from there. I learned a lot while 3 days at the competition day, 2 days at the exhibition. We managed to get best of the best research product at the PWTC. So I learned a lot from there, and from there, you know how to convince people, you know how to elaborate. So this is help you when you do the Viva. Okay, so join the competition, join the exhibition. And actually, your supervisor love you when you join exhibition competition. And most of the time, I guide my student. The aims goal, no silver, no bronze. Always uh go for goal. All right. So your preparation towards the goal, right? So maybe here there's my students. First time I help them, second time help them, the third time just you go for yourself, you try to present, and they also even though go alone without me, even the second time without me, I just from far away, okay, look at you present, right? But you still manage get the goal, right? So you can promote your research towards exhibition and competition. Second, maybe you can share also join the colloquium and publish your work. Maybe if you have the small things, maybe you can publish to the ISBN instead of yes, you have the journal, you have the Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. But actually, you can also publish your work through another publication like we have the bulletin, we have the news, we have the ISBN. So publish your work for their perspectives. It's very, very good. This is very good experience. The number 4, actually apply for copyright. Okay, like my student, at least one copyright. Most of the time at the design phase, and the last one which is after you complete your PhD or your master, all right? Or at least you get one copyright, okay? All right. The last one actually is if you manage, actually you can collaborate with the industry. So this is actually can promote also your research works. Okay, so sometimes you can collaborate in the industry or organization, or now we call it as organization where you collaborate with the school or with the another partner which is not from the industry, from the government sector. So you can also collaborate that one. So that is a good experience when you go to the another third parties, right? You present depan ketua kampung, in front of the ketua kampung, in front of the Datuk Menteri, right? So this experience help you get a better person, more experience while you are student. It's good you to do all these things. Okay, actually based on this one, I get the experience during my PhD journey, so help me a lot when time to me work at the UTM. Okay, I'm looking at the soalan. Sorry. Okay, dia tak saya scroll. Oops. Okay, don't forget the attendance. Okay. Mak saya scroll. Okay, soalan. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Azean. My question, can researcher use more than one type of interview? For example, structure and creative interview? Yes, you can. Right? Yes, you can. All right. Sometimes you have the first data, then you second, you can have the supporting details. So the supporting details you use in the creative interview. Yes, you can. Sometimes you use the creative interview, then you follow by the structured interview. Yes, you can. All right, no problem. Because from there, actually, you actually after you do creative interview, okay, actually you get more details. You can get feeling from your respondent. Okay, actually good to have the creative interview. Sometimes you do creative interview uh with activities. Okay, you do the activity at the same time you do the creative interview. Previously, last year with Niza, we interview with Down syndrome, Down Down syndrome student, Form 1, Form 2. You won't manage to get the answer from them. So what you do, you have to do creative interview. You play with them, you ask them question, you give them something, you play with something, you ask the second question. Actually, when they do something, they express what actually they want to answer by actually like they play the clay. So they marah, if they agree, they happy with the clay. So they represent that one. Okay, so because the ADHD or Down syndrome student, you cannot use as a structured question. No way to use the structured. Okay, so you have to use the creative interview or you have to use the other style. Okay, alright. Okay, alamat mana tadi? Dah bergerak dah. Is there any minimum or maximum number of respondents in focus group instrument? We get valid data. Okay, for the focus group, okay, you can go for 6 to 10, right? You can go 6 to 10, but you must remember what meaning of small group, what the meaning of the focus group. Okay, alright. Alright, Assalamualaikum. If we use Ruby for the observation checklist, does it fall under quantitative or qualitative? How can we make observation from e.g. class recording to see the student behavior? Alright, Ruby, actually from the Ruby, actually you will get the quantitative, right? You can get the quantitative. But from the observation, you can elaborate them. You can you have the rubric kan? It's important you have the rubric. So from the rubric, if they get 4 for the rubric number 4, you get the rubric number 4. So you can elaborate more. You can use the record your recording video for and etc. You can elaborate more because they move to A to B and they sit back on their chair. Right. So you observe that one, right? So from there, yes, they get 4 for the Rubik, but the detail of their movement, everything, you can put it as a qualitative. Okay, that's a good thing, right? Like if you know Muhammad Munir, okay, they use also from the observation, for one observation form, they get 2 things, quantitative data and qualitative data, right? Okay. If we use Ruby for observation, mana tadi dah turun bawah. Okay. How to validate question in interview method? Alright. After you complete everything, your question with the props or provoke, okay, provoke statement and etc. Check first with supervisor. Then you can go to the expert person. Alright. If you are, let's say you are do the psychology, so maybe you can refer to Dr. Rohaya, Dr. Hadijah. If you look at from the angle of A and B or C relate to the technology, then you can send to me or you can send to Dr. Noor Fendi and etc. Okay, so but when you send the interview question, all right, you must send with your research framework, the research framework, your objective and your interview. So from there, okay, so we will validate, is it match with your research framework, match or not with your research question. So this is item, the item. Most of the time student won't manage, not most of the time, sometimes, okay, few students, you have the 10 item, sometimes 3 of them actually not suitable to that construct. Okay, so you can ask with any other lecturer. Sometimes me also sometimes ask Dr. Farhana, sometimes I ask Dr. Shafi'i, Dr. Shah, alright, Dr. Zadato also ask me to validate the question, alright, for interview, for the questionnaire also. Okay, alright. So, ada soalan lagi tak? Okay, alright. So, any other question?
Good morning, doctor. Actually, my name is Kurt, the ones who asked the validations of interview methods. So
Okay.
I would like to ask about is it necessary for us to conduct a pilot test before by using the interview questions?
Okay. You are master or PhD?
PhD.
Okay. For uh for interview, uh, uh when you do the, yes, you have to do the pilot test even though for interview, because
Okay.
sometimes the words cannot be understand by the participant. Your
Mm-hmm.
words is too high or too low. Sometimes we use the layman words, right? Because we interview the makcik, all right, the pakcik, right?
Yeah.
So we had to use the layman words, all right? Okay, so if you do PhD, yes, wajib you kena you have to run the pilot study interview. Alright. So previously when I do my PhD, I bring 6 students to the KFC Taman University, do the interview. Okay, so
Okay.
this is my question. So I tell them it's not you have to answer because of the things happen. You can answer or you understand or not my question. So you answer based on the things that you understand. Then the comment, tak faham tak doktor? Why you use, what is a paradigm? And
Mhm.
2008 don't have the paradigm more kan? What is you
Yeah.
mean by paradigm? Okay. So what you mean by context? What do you mean by context?
Okay.
Oh, so I
Okay.
cannot use the words context. I cannot use the words paradigm shift. So I change. So how you're thinking, how your characteristics. So I use the um layman words. Okay,
Okay.
example.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right, good question. Dear doctor, when using questionnaire, what is the boundary between small sample and large sample that it make difference to the result? Okay, all right. Um, if you're looking for the generalized, okay, if you're looking for the generalized, and your population, all right. So if you look at for generalized, so the apa tu nama dia? Jadual, the table, okay, meet the numbers of the that you to refer to. So it's good you to look at that one. Alright. But if my student this semester they conduct, they just have sample 21 and after that one of them withdraw, then only 20 students in a class. So how? Right? So if you're using questionnaire, you cannot go for the parametric test. You have to use the non-parametric test. Therefore, if a small group is really need to have another instrument to support your non-parametric test because your number is actually 20, 21 instead of you have the 40 right in the classroom. So this help to get proof which is your learning theory that you apply through the technology actually give a good result. Okay. Yes, it's memang susah where you have a small sample. But suddenly it happened, right? This semester, last semester. So only 20, 21 students instead of we supposedly have 40 students. Okay, all right. Any other question?
Doktor,
Yes, saya.
Doktor, if let's say if we had done the interview, and then we had collected the data and then do the analysis, and suddenly when we listen, let's say we listen to the class like this, we need to do the pilot test of that particular interview. So what is your opinion on that? What should the researcher do for that particular case lah? Because
Oh,
uh
okay, all right.
mm,
Which means you have collect the real data. But
because the and the participant is the experts, so um the expert should she I mean yelah the participant is expert.
Okay, all right.
So is it necessary to run the pilot first?
Actually, why
Mm.
we need the pilot test? Actually,
Mm.
we want to validate your questions.
Yes, okay.
Is it okay or not to these high level people or low level people or high level thinking people or
Mm.
professional people, all right?
Mm.
But let's
Okay,
say you
for
have
that
run
case,
the real one.
uh,
Let's say if you have run for the real data, okay,
yeah.
um, what you can do if you have, let's say you have 51, you have the 51, you have enough number of your participants, you can exclude maybe 5 from there as your apa nama dia, as your pilot test. And another one,
Mm-hmm.
if you that
Hello.
number, maybe your number is just 30, what you can do, is just approved by the expert. Approved by the
Mm-hmm.
expert.
Approve
Sebab dah tak
the
boleh
result of
reverse
the
lagi
analysis
kan?
by the expert. Mm-hmm.
Yes, by the expert. And
Mm-hmm.
also, the expert must be more details and you have to come back. Is it any problem when student answer? Is it dapat tak sampai that is it meet? Sometimes you didn't meet the things that you want, alright? If still
Mm.
cannot meet the back on the interview, because interview very
Mm-hmm.
important and observation also important, right? Because this help you to clear up when you do the finding. Okay, macam
Mm-hmm.
saya memang in my research I really do for interview and observation. From that, I can have a very good discussion part. Saya punya thesis dulu minor seminggu je correction. Because of what? I have the observation and interview to support my research question.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, that is very important. Then will be minor correction. Munir Pitari, minor correction because they have the observation. But the observation must appropriate. This will be rubric. Your supervisor will check. This is a rubric appropriate. So you don't have sampai 10 items. Maybe just sometimes you need 4 items only of the rubric. It's enough that can represent that perwatakan or situation that one. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
Alright. Okay, any question? Ada? Alamak, saya tersunting lah pula. Okay. Alright. If you don't have any question, I end the program this morning. Alamak, saya ada tertinggal lagi tak? Okay, tak ada. Alright. So, if no any questions, so I end this session. And at the 11 a.m., we will have another session with Associate Professor Dr. Noor Effendi about publication in the WAS and also in the ISI and also in the Scopus. Okay, all right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for listening and sharing this session. Okay, bye. And we end with the
Bye. Thank
tasbih
you,
kifara.
doctor.
All right.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Welcome.
Thank you, doctor.
Welcome. Stop recording.